Hi, how's it going?
Hi, super good. How are you?
Doing good. Jesse Peterson.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Malea.
Malea. Great. Great to meet you with you today. Go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you. Good. Well, I'm excited for our meeting, see if we can get this resolved and get moving forward with it all.
Amen to that. They say the best for last. Isn't that how it goes?
So true. So hopefully we can get through this clause. I'm kind of excited, and I'm wanting to find out more about how you're feeling and all, and
Great.
getting your view on it. So what are your expectations coming to this?
My expectations, honestly, are to resolve whatever issues that you guys have. Honestly, this is a clause that we've used in all of the $200 stores, and we haven't had a whole lot of issues. In fact, I think that normally they've found they enjoy the continuity of it. The developers enjoy the continuity of it. So for us, I think it's just, I know that you guys have some issues with that. And I also have some concerns with the lease period, but I think that we're close.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I totally get it. You've probably done this 200 times, bringing this whole clause into it. You're probably kind of confused why such a small developer would be causing these issues for your company that you've done so many times, and it's worked in so many different places. So to address that a little bit, I can kind of give some more insight to it. We at Hawkins, we're super excited to start this mall, to build it up from the ground up. And with there are some stipulations that we're having to go through, one with financing, but also protecting the interests of our smaller stores. And while you've had the experience, and so I definitely want to tap into that and understand more, get more alternatives, I suppose, from you, since you do have that more experience than I do. I want to find a resolution where we can take this kind of smaller location with our limited experience and bring in someone like you with discount, be able to support you with also supporting those around us to make sure the whole mall is functioning well and you being able to make those profits. So what kind of drew you to, if you don't mind me asking, what drew you to Hawkins? Why this place?
You guys have a great location here next to the interstate. We bank on the fact that we can get people in looking at the product constantly, just a lot of foot traffic. That's the name of the game with our retail store. So we enjoy the fact that it's in a pretty populated place. And we don't have any locations in Boston yet, so this will be fun to open up a new location here. I know there are some other developers in the area that have also made some offers. But we've done a lot of negotiation with you guys already to get to this point, and so if at all possible, I'd like to, make this work for both of us, if that's possible for you guys to kind of overcome some of the issues that you're having with the articles the way that they are.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. I'm really thankful that you're so understanding and you kind of see where we're coming from with our issues. I hope that we're able to resolve them so that way we can keep your business, because I definitely think, we definitely value discount, and we definitely want you as our top store and be our anchor. I think that'd be a great investment for you, and then also for us for the same reasons you listed. Great location. It's a new market that you're trying to reach, giving a pretty good price on the square footage, I'd say.
Sure. So absolutely, you guys have done great with that.
Oh yeah, thank you. We try. But really, so from what I've understood from our past meetings, is you're looking for that flexibility in your market and being able to keep up with your your chain store, so everyone else. Is that right?
Right. Retail is dog eat dog.
Yeah.
So you have to stay pretty current.
Okay. Perfect. Just want to make sure I understood that properly. So I guess both of our clauses, let's just be open with each other, both of our clauses aren't going to be acceptable to one another. Your clause isn't going to be perfect for what we're looking for, and our clause definitely isn't going to meet your needs, right?
Right. I mean, what are your main issues here? Because like I mentioned, we've done this clause with a lot of other locations, and they didn't have a whole lot of issues as far as it went. So tell me what your issues are. Why are you so concerned with it?
Yeah, so kind of what I mentioned before, we're really looking to protect the interests of our satellite stores. Our fear is that if we whatever store we bring in, whether it be Discount or anyone else, for that anchor spot. Our concern is if you're selling your soft goods now and then you transition to something, say like a furniture store, or you start selling ice cream as a whole, like our smaller satellite store, if it were there, would have that burden put on it of trying to compete with your already larger volume of customers. So we're trying to protect them so that way they can still make a profit and be attractive. Because if we let you in and we just say, they can, if they're, or I want to create a scenario for you. If a smaller satellite store is trying to come into our mall and they're looking at your closet and saying like, oh wow, this amazing chain store is able to change however they want to and be able to meet any market and take any of the market share that we were trying to get, then that satellite store is not going to be attracted to us. And in the end, we fear that it'll just be Discount and not have our other satellite stores there or want them to be there, which as a mall, is kind of based on multiple stores. And so that's one part of it as well, is that we'd like to, obviously everyone wants to make a profit, right, including us. And so to be able to get the financing we need to have a store that's going to be set, that will be providing these soft goods and be creditworthy, which you guys totally are. But just really having a set top anchor store that's not going to be transitioning all over the place. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Did that make sense?
Sure. Malea, I totally understand where you're coming from on this. And honestly, if I were in your position, I think I'd feel the same way. This is your guys' first development in doing a mall, a project of this scale. And so you're concerned about the future. Let me just kind of put some of your concerns to rest, because and maybe you've heard this adage before, but it goes something like, don't let the tail control the dog. Mm-hmm. And so the idea behind it is, don't let such a small portion of the animal control the bigger part. And in this scenario, we are definitely the dog. So we hold the biggest portion of the mall, and we'll probably bring in the most amount of people to the mall, whereas these satellite tenants are more kind of like the tail. So I honestly don't think you should get too worried about this idea of sort of bowing to the whims of the satellite stores, whereas they're just sort of like the tail of the operation.
For sure, but even that tail serves a purpose, and that tail brings in other customers and be able to make everyone profitable. So if you can imagine having, well, I like that you're trying to put yourself in my shoes. I'm trying to do the same for you. Having one big store that's taking everything and not leaving much for the smaller dogs. Because even if the smaller dogs are there, they're only going to stay there if they get customers. Does that make sense?
Right. I mean, honestly, with total credibility to your experience with this, in the past, I think that we found that honestly these smaller satellite stores really enjoy the fact that we're there, and the fact that Discount is already in the mall is kind of a selling point for them anyway, instead of being a deterrent. Normally is a very attractive feature that they want, because they know that we're going to be flexible enough to bring in constant amount of customers. So we're going to be flexible to change to make sure that they're getting the kind of traffic that they need through their mall.
Totally. I definitely could see that. Have you, like, what percentage would you say of those satellite stores that you're referencing are happy with Discount having all of them? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what data kind of do you have behind that statement?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that a large majority of them are extremely happy with how we've done business in the past. And if past history is any remedy to a potential problem, then I would say definitely err on the side of history, which we definitely have in this circumstance, just because there's a lot of companies that have really enjoyed that stability of knowing that we're there. And like you mentioned, you would like that stability as well, sure, which we'll be able to afford in some way or another.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Well, you really put me at ease knowing that there's more, that you've had the past experience of satellite stores being happy with that. That really brings a lot of comfort to me. And I think that moving forward, that would be good to keep in mind. So I think that kind of resolves that. As for the nitty-gritty of the actual clause. How are you thinking that would be free? Well, I guess the other concern that we had was that the subletting part of it. Like I said, to be able to get the financing that we need to accomplish this, we're going to need an agreement that you'd be willing to stay pretty in a stable spot. So how do you think we could come to a agreement on that part?
Sure. I know that something that we've done in the past is typically we can go about this with a subclause, just mentioning that that we're able to sell whatever products that we need to as according to what the market is demanding. Obviously, if there's some parts of that, some categories that you want to exclude from us being able to do, for instance, like ice cream or something, then, you know, if you guys feel very strongly about those, then that's something that we can address in a subclause. Yeah, I think that's typically what we've done.
Okay. Perfect. I think that could work. I'm grateful that you're willing to be lenient on that. There's nothing specific as in a product that we're looking to block from you. We're not trying to do that. The only thing that would be a concern is if, or somehow we can work it into the clause that if there is a satellite or like another store in the mall that is trying to access that market, so you're a discount, right? So you sell cheaper things, lower priced, higher volume, right?
Right.
Okay. So if someone's coming in as like a high-tail belt seller or something like that, we want to somehow protect it and write it in the clause that if you were to transition into that there'd be some sort of permission that needs to go through us or approval from the other store. And even though it is the tail, I understand that you guys are totally top dog, no argument on that, totally understand. We do need to preserve some of those rights for them. So
sure. I absolutely know where you're coming from on that, and I'm glad that you're able to see sort of where we are, because it is kind of a position. If somebody in corporate decides that we're going to put a new item into all 200 stores, it makes no sense at all for us to do every single store except for one little store in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for us to just be able to bow to every whim of any satellite store that you guys might want to come in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a difficult position for us to be able to say, okay, all of these products are going to be outlawed from us selling it all. And totally. To the point that I would even say sometimes it's a healthy competition. For instance, in your example with the belt store, we sell belts, but it's probably going to be a different kind of belt than they would typically sell in one of those smaller satellite stores that's more specialized. For sure. So I definitely probably wouldn't worry about that as much. Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Okay, cool. I think I've kicked the dead horse too much with this one. I think that we can circle back around to this if we need to, but I think we understand each other. I understand where your interest is coming from. You mentioned some other things that you were concerned about with the clause or with the agreement. What were those things?
Sure, just something that was brought to my attention right before this when I was meeting with some of the people on our team is that they had, I guess you guys were pretty passionate about having a 25-year lease. And I was kind of shocked that everybody in the company had went along with that, just because typically that's not something we do. We typically stick with more of kind of like a 5-year. We just feel more comfortable with that. Obviously, we hope to stay in the area as long as possible. It doesn't make financial sense for us to come in today and leave tomorrow. But on the chance that this is just in a good location for this particular store, we have to have that flexibility to say, hey, we got to tap out. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's kind of protecting your guys' interest as well, because if it gets to a point where we're not profitable, you're not going to want us here either. So that 5 years really helps us to be able to say, let's see if we can be profitable. We'll try everything we can. But in the end, if it's just a bad location, it's a bad location. We move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I get that. If I was from the business point, I understand where you're coming from with the 5-year lease. But there'd be able to be a compromise where we keep maybe a 10-year lease option available. It helps us be able to have that long-term stability, especially starting out as a mall. We need that anchor tenant for a while. So are you looking to change that? Because I thought that we were pretty resolved on that with the past issues.
Right, and I know that they had negotiated that previously. Sometimes I have to come in here at the end and sort of change some things up that aren't acceptable from some of the people in the company that don't realize exactly what's going on. It's definitely something we would need to change. 10 years I also feel might be kind of a hard sell at corporate. Just going back and telling them that it's going to be 10 years. I don't see everyone being too happy with that, just because of kind of how we roll as a culture of the company.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I definitely think that those are good points. Coming from a larger store, I would have to say that I think that there's actually an opportunity for compromise in this then. If you're looking for a shorter lease, that's something that we can work with. We are looking for long term. We hope to be able to earn your trust and be able to earn your business for that long term. It's definitely one of our goals. We're not trying to just use and abuse and head out.
Sure.
But I think with that shorter lease that we'd be able to work something in where you do have more flexibility to do what you want. And then at that time of renewal, then we can look into, sorry, let me get my thoughts.
No, you're good. That's timed.
Oh,
Perfect.
Cool.